right. Oh, Ella, Hugo, how are you guys doing?
Hey,
Pretty
good.
good.
Good, good. I'm glad to talk with you both about the Occupant. I appreciate your time. Uh, I guess Hugo, I'll start with you, man, because this is Abby's story is one that you've kind of been telling for a while. Is this something that you always plan to expand on from going from the short to now a feature film?
Yeah, so the short film that we created was actually a way to get finances for the feature film, of course, and we set it in the world of the script that it was at that time, which is 2019 already. So it has seen a real big evolution through those years before we started shooting the feature film. And I think the most important one is that I allowed myself to sacrifice some of the genre conventions to tell a more personal story, which, if you go into this movie, you might expect a certain outcome. It's a very typical hero's journey where somebody's trying to do the impossible and may or may not succeed in that. But halfway through it, you start to discover that it's actually maybe about something different. And it's not about winning. It's not about this Hail Mary at the end, but it's actually about coming to acceptance of something very difficult. So yeah, with that, maybe I've lost some of the genre fans because they were hoping for I don't know, something more in line with the prologue. But I'm very very proud of this film because to me, at least, it tells a pretty meaningful story.
Ella, what was it that attracted you to the role, Abby? She goes through some pretty rigorous challenges throughout this movie. So, what was it that attracted you to the role?
So I this first came across my desk in 2019, and I just come off doing a couple of pretty big budget, movies, shows, and I was just sort of like in a place of just being ready to do something that was just this gritty. And I just really was ready to do that. Felt like I'd like warmed up to it. That was again in 2019. 2020 happened, 2021 happened, and then by the time we actually ended up shooting this in 2022, I was exhausted, man. I was like in a completely different mental space than I was back then. But that was kind of what made me go, when else am I going to be more prepared and ready to do this? Because I would be surprised if there is going to be a time where there's even any more emotional parallels that I have with this character than now. And that was sort of the thing that really, I kind of think just drove my curiosity as an actor to see how far we could really go with this, especially with it being on location, especially with it, being shot on in the Caucasus Mountains with people who, have their own language that they're speaking. In this scenario where, we hadn't actually cast Rob Delaney yet. So it was, sort of like a solo endeavor at the time. It was just all of these aspects that was like, I just want to challenge myself and see if I can do this. Plus, having seen what Hugo had already put together, which was phenomenal in the short, I was like, it's just kind of a no-brainer for me.
This question is kind of for both of you, but I'll start with you, Ella, because most people, most American audiences will know you from Charlie's Angels, which had its own kind of physicality. But this movie is like intense and grueling. It looks like in terms of like the physical aspect of it. How do you prepare for that?
Um, you don't. I think the best thing about that is that, I mean, obviously, a nice little bit of physical fitness is helpful to be able to, like go take after take if you need to. But the most real thing about this was, the character's not prepared for this. So it would be strange if I, as an actor, was prepared for this because it would just wouldn't line up.
Right.
Even in the way she dresses, she's wearing like hiking shoes. And we had to she's in the snow and the ice the whole time, and wrapping my bags up, my feet up in paper bags and to keep them dry, and then realizing my feet are getting too moist, and the whole chaos of it all was kind of the unexpected surprises. Was the in preparation was the preparation almost. because it just made everything so visceral and so real. And then that being said, I think being so honest with Hugo about where I was emotionally at the time, how I was feeling every single day, for him as a director to use that as a resource to get what he needed from the character. I think are the two just ultimate transparency. I've never had transparency with a director like this before, which was a really special experience. And if there are any actors listening, I encourage you to at least try it once in your career.
Hugo, the same for you, man. As intense as it was for her, it has to be the same for you, I imagine, especially working out there in the elements, the climate, the mother nature, all of it's a factor. Talk to me about what kind of challenge that was for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And while Ella had the hardest job because she had to perform in front of the camera, and we were like cozily wrapped up behind the camera, actually the technical challenge of shooting in real snow and real locations is something that I would not easily do again, or at least I would really kind of like consider, are there easier ways to do this? Because it's just it's just relentless. You'll never be able to plan around this. And working in real environments means that everybody's cold. Your equipment is blowing away. You can't schedule when it's going to be snow, when there's going to be sun, when there's going to be wind, and constantly you have to adapt, and constantly you have to change your plan for that day. And that was like, this being my first feature film, that was definitely a big challenge. And I'm very, very happy that I had such a tight knit crew that I could really lean on, and that I could really lean on Ella in that sense, and completely trust her to do her thing in front of camera. So I could also kind of like have my moments where I lost it a little bit, because it's really, really difficult. You have these worries that you might not even make the day, like because the snow might disappear, and then that's the end of your film. And so that was a real challenge.
Ella, there's a scene in the movie where you're kind of walking on the ice, for me personally, I have nightmares about falling through ice and like into cold water. What was that scene like for you? Like I said, for me, it gave me the creeps. So, what was that scene like for you?
Well, fortunately I'm a good swimmer, so that wasn't like the key concern. The thing that was shocking about that was, everyone's like, but I take an ice bath all the time. Like, it wasn't the ice bath that was the hard part. Sincerely, it was, you go into an ice bath, you calm your breath down, you have time to mentally prepare for it, you get your body and mental state in a place ready to go and do said ice bath. This, I'm like hyperventilating, panicking, and to immediately put your body into that state of fight or flight that she's in already, to then go into that, the immediate panic was kind of the thing it was quite shocking to me. Um, like I'm moving around so much, really giving it the sell. I don't want to do this again. So like, we're doing it. I would rather get it done in one take.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing the more that I'm moving around, I'm warming up the ice around me. So as I'm actually, it again gets to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm cold now. I'm going to get out. We've done this thing. The ice is breaking as I'm trying to like climb out. And I'm like digging my hands in, going, there was a moment where in the script, it was like something like, come on, Abby, or something. I remember actively having to not say Ella, because the panic was truly, it was like, come on, Abby, because it was so real. And then this is the thing that's so marvelous about Hugo, and we kind of had this mutual understanding, like I said, about the transparency between an actor and a director. He knew I didn't want to do this again. He knew also that this is probably as real as he's going to get it, because that's the surprise is what's real. Anything else after that, it's been done before, and the novelty's gone for the actor anyway. It was very hard to get it back. So he kept rolling. We didn't cut, and we were supposed to cut cameras. And I remember standing, like I was saying about the cold of the water, standing up then into the winds that were going across that ice lake. My goodness, it was like razor blades cutting across my skin. And we kept going and just kept walking. Me, Robbie Brown, the first lady Toby, we were all just, and it was like you could have heard a pin drop on set whilst some, characters screaming. But we just were so in it. And, if I'd be lying if I said, I'd probably want to freely do that again. Like, like I don't know. I'd probably do. I probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But it was moments like that are so special because they are truly. It was a surprise. It wasn't rehearsed. There was no way. We tried to do like a couple of ice baths in the hotel room, or something. But like you can't. There's nothing that can prepare you for something like that. And I'm really excited by that moment because it truly then gives justice to everything else that happens to the character later. Because she has had that extreme cold, that's again where the psychological aspect really starts to sort of amp up, which I think is really cool.
Hugo, you talked a little bit earlier about how between the short into the feature, you kind of played around with the genre conventions of the movie. Was there ever a version that had fewer sci-fi or more sci-fi or something like that along the way?
Yeah, definitely. So it's yeah, there's a lot of drawings of alien ships at the end, and there was like a real standoff, an actual monster at the end. I don't want to spoil anything for the viewers necessarily, but the omission of that actually allowed us to delve deeper into a psychological choice. And it's not just this fight for survival, which you're seeing the whole film, but now this character has come to a point that she needs to make a decision herself. And that's the hardest thing, like now all cards are on the table and you either choose left or you choose right. And there's nobody coercing her in that decision. All decisions leading there were her own in a sense. And I think, yeah, that's what I love in a film when you really get to that point where a character needs to make needs to make a real choice that there's no going back from.
Well, Ella, Hugo, I appreciate the time that you've given me to talk about The Occupant. I can't wait for more people to see it, and thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Right,
Fine.
thank you. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.